Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our live webinar on Zoom and via Facebook live stream. Hope everyone's doing well and hope you guys are able to hear me clearly. For those people joining us in our live Zoom webinar, welcome everyone. If you have any questions, please type them in our Q&A portion. And if you are joining us via our Facebook live stream, please don't hesitate to ask your questions on the comment section. I will go ahead and take a look at them later on and answer them one at a time. For those people joining us in our Facebook live stream, welcome everyone. Welcome Nikki. If you guys are able to please like us and share, that would be very much appreciated. This is going to be a very informative free webinar on the new caregiver immigration pathway to Canada. Okay, everyone, welcome. My name is Israel Roman, and I am your host, a licensed Canadian immigration consultant, and at the same time, a registered nurse here in Canada. We have our offices. Our main office is here in Nanaimo, British Columbia, while we have our branch in the Philippines, which is in Lipa City, Batangas. So if you're close to Lipa City, Batangas, feel free to visit our office. So we are here to talk about the Home Child Care Provider Pilot and the Home Support Worker Pilot Program. What is the craze about this one? How great is this program and what makes it great? Okay, what is the difference between this program and the old program? So the new caregiver program, the new one that we are currently in right now, started only last year, June 2019. So as a caregiver like you, when you are going to come to Canada and apply for a caregiver, as a caregiver, you are essentially applying for two types of application. First of which would be the open work permit. And for this open work permit, it would be occupation restricted, but not employer restricted. So this is good for caregivers out there because in case you have to change employer, you don't need to apply for a new work permit and wait for that permit before you can start on your new employer. So with this one, you can go ahead and go from one employer to the other without reapplying for your work permit. So there won't be any gaps in your employment. And the open work permit, this program right here doesn't need a labor market impact assessment or LMIA. And LMIA is basically a permission that is asked by the employer that, hey, government of Canada, I would like to hire a foreign worker. And so now the government of Canada will have to take a look at the application, and that is what the LMIA is. So for this one, for the new caregiver program, the employer doesn't need to apply for LMIA, which is great news for the employer, directly for the employer, because this would eliminate one giant step for them and also expense for them. And indirectly will be great for you guys, for caregivers out there, because that means you'll have more you'll have more Canadian employers willing to hire foreign workers. Then the other application that you will be applying at the same time as well would be the permanent residence application. And after completing your 2 years of full-time work as a caregiver, then your permanent resident status will be finalized. So essentially, when you get approved for your application, essentially you are a permanent resident. You just need to complete the 2 years of caregiver employment. Now, one question that that is a common question around this one is that, can I apply for the open work permit? And then for my permanent residency, I'll do that one later on. Okay. So can I apply only for my open work permit and not for my permanent residency status? So the answer to that one is a no. Unfortunately, you have to apply for both, and you need to be able to meet the requirement for both the work permit, open work permit, and the permanent residency application. Okay. And so, what are the requirements then? So, the first requirement would be, of course, you need to have a job, right? You need to have a valid job offer, a genuine and valid job offer. So, this can come from an employer looking for a caregiver to look after their parents or elderly individual, or employer looking for a nanny to look after their kids or child, right? One question I get here is that, okay, I have my mom is here. She's old. She's 70 years old. And I have a sister back home. Can I hire my sister to look after my mom? Essentially, my sister's mom as well. All right. So the answer to that one is, even though it is not listed in the policy that you cannot hire a relative, for this case, it would be hard to justify that your mom is a genuine employer, right? Because why would you pay your daughter to look after, to take care of you, right? So it doesn't make sense. So in that case, I won't be taking your case because it would just be refused, right? It's going to be hard for us to justify that one. Okay. So the job offer should be a full time, which is at least 30 hours per week. Next requirement is you are able to do the job. So if you're being hired as a nanny, then you should be able to do the job as a nanny. If you're being hired as a caregiver to look after elderly, then you should be able to do the job as a caregiver. And in order to prove this one, we will have to submit your recent caregiver course or training or experience or something equivalent as well. And it has to be recent. So when we say recent, it has to be within the last 5 years. So an example would be, let's say you finished your caregiver course 10 years ago, and you just stopped working as a caregiver a year ago. So with that one, you are deemed to be able to do the job, right? You're able to prove that one. But let's say you graduated 6 years ago as a nurse, and then since then you haven't worked in the healthcare field. You are now in a different work industry. Then unfortunately, it's going to be hard to prove that you're able to do the job because your nursing education is not really recent, right? So yeah. Next is meet the language level. So this one would be for the permanent residency application. So for the language level, language ability, if you are, it's going to be CLB 5. So if you're taking IELTS, that would be reading is 4.0, and then listening, writing, and speaking 5.0. So that is the language ability or language level. Okay. Next is meet the education requirement. When we say the education requirement, this one would be at least 1 year of post secondary or 1 year in college. You have finished 1 year of college. I'll give you a not too good of an example. So let's say you are an applicant from the Philippines, and during your high school, your secondary education, you didn't have that K1 to 12 yet, okay? But you have a 2 year associate degree. What will happen is your first year college will now be converted to grade 11. And then your second year college would be grade 12. So at the end of the day, you are still missing 1 year of college, right? So if you are not part of the K1 to 12 curriculum, it would be safer if you have finished at least 3 years of college in order to meet the education requirement. Next is admissible to Canada. So, meaning to say you don't have any criminal offense or misrepresentation, and relatively in good health. So when you apply for your open work permit and permanent residency application, your spouse and dependents will be included in that application. Okay, so that's great. So for your spouse will be getting an open work permit as well. The only difference with this one is your spouse will get the usual open work permit. So that means your spouse can work in any occupation, any employer, as long as he qualifies for that job, right? So can work in any employer, any occupation. For your dependent child, you'll have your child will have study permit and will have the advantage to take advantage to get the free education up to grade 12. Employer. So just want to clear something. So even though we have an office in the Philippines, we are not licensed with POEA. And the reason being is that we are not a recruitment agency. We are a Canadian immigration consultancy firm. Therefore, we don't need to be licensed. We are not required to be licensed with POEA. So I just want to make sure that everyone's clear with that one. We are not licensed with POEA because we don't have to. We are not a recruitment agency. Even though we have an office in the Philippines, it is a Canadian immigration consultancy firm. So when it comes to the employer, this is a responsibility of the applicant. But even though this is your responsibility, we will be helping you land an employer. Okay? We will be here to guide you, to help you land an employer. And that is your advantage for hiring us because we are here in Canada. We are able to connect directly to those Canadian employers looking for caregivers and nannies like you. So employer could be your relative, right? As long as it is not your mom or your dad, right? Okay, we cannot, it's going to be hard to justify that one. Okay. Your relative, if your relative is needing a nanny because your relative has children, then yes. If your relative is needing a caregiver to look after elderly parents, then yes. Okay. But again, I would stay away from hiring a daughter or hiring a son to look after himself, or to look after him, which is the parents, or yeah. Okay. So, what is then the advantages in joining with us with Roman and Associates? So, first is that you will avail the 50% on our immigration consultants fee. Okay. So, any immigration work, pretty sure there is a professional fee or immigration consultants fee. So, for this one, for joining us for this through this webinar, through this Facebook live stream, we are offering 50% off. And this consultant's fee can also be negotiated so that it's the employer who pays for it. Yes, we have employers here who at times pays for the entire expense of the caregiver, right? So that's great, right? So, and with this one, it would be easier for us to negotiate with the employer because we can say that, hey, the consultant's fee is now 50% off. So it would be easier for the employer to shoulder this one. Okay. Next advantage is that normally in an immigration application, the price for the professional fee would only be for the applicant. If there's if there's a spouse or children, there'll be additional fee for that one because that would entail more work, more time, right, for that consultant. But for this one, for this webinar and Facebook live stream for today, there won't be any additional retainer fee for the spouse or dependent. So if you have 10 children, that one, there won't be any fee, additional fee for that one. Okay. You will also get free unlimited IELTS review. Okay. And with our IELTS review, this would certainly help you boost your confidence in taking that IELTS exam and essentially get the score that you need, which is again CLB 5. We will also put there free IELTS exam. So we'll take care of your IELTS exam as well. Okay. Then the most important one, the most important advantage would be we will represent you to our Canadian employers. And how do we do this? We do it with our website posting. So we have multiple websites targeting Canadian employers. So your profile will be there. It will be visible to our Canadian employers. Okay. And social media posting as well. So we do social media advertisement as well and directed to Canadian employers as well. And lastly is the networking. Okay. So how does the networking work for you? So if you can recall in our first slide, first few slides, I did mention that I am also a registered nurse here in Canada. So as part of the networking, working in the hospital, I am close to those patients, relatives who are going to be discharged and on discharge will be needing some help at home, right? So caregiver help or sometimes nannies as well. So I might have some relative of a patient coming to me, approaching me and say, hey, my dad will be discharged next week, but he had a hip surgery and he'll be needing some help at home, right? I need it like 6 hours a day, Monday to Friday. So with that, that's how our networking works. We are able to directly talk to potential employers, which I think your if for agencies that are located locally in your area, they might not have that advantage of being able to talk to different Canadian employers like us. So, our credentials. So, just to give you a tip as well or advice is that any person giving you advice on how to immigrate to Canada, how to complete the forms and all of those things, whether they're paid or not, if they are not your relative, they need to be licensed with ICCRC, okay, or Immigration Consultant of Canada Regulatory Council. In order to get licensed, you need to take the immigration course, then take the board exam, and then stay active, stay have a good standing, and stay active in the regulatory council. Okay, so just make sure if you're already working with an agent or with someone, just make sure that they are licensed with ICCRC. And how do you check that? So we go to their site. So this is the ICCRC website. On the right hand side, you'll see complaints and discipline. So if you have any concerns for any of the consultant that you're working with, you can always file a complaint through ICCRC and they will deal with that person. And of course, if they're not licensed with ICCRC, unfortunately, they won't be able to help you because they are not under their jurisdiction. So just and on the left hand side, just hit learn more to for the find an immigration professional, and then scroll down, and then you can just type in the name. So for this one, let's go type in Roman. Last name is Roman, first name is Israel, and hit search. And you'll see name, status, and then contact, and then the license number. Okay. And if we hit contact, it would show you where that immigration consultant is based from. So for myself, again, it says here Nanaimo, BC, Canada, and the company I work for is Roman and Associates Immigration Services Limited. Okay. And also another way of making sure that the company that the immigration consultant is working for is really a legitimate company, it would be good for you to research on that company as well. So let's say for Roman and Associates, we can go, since this one is in BC, Canada, we can go to Canada Business Registry. Hold on. I just need to search. There you go. Okay. So search businesses within Canada. So British Columbia. So type in Roman and Associates. Hit enter. There you go. So it says here Roman and Associates Immigration Services Limited, and the status is active. It is a BC company created 2016. Okay. Okay. And then the next one is I did tell you guys that I am here in Canada. So you can also do this, and in terms of trying to search if there's any red flag, let's say you're already working with someone, just check if there's any red flag for that person, right? For that name, especially if you don't know that person. So you can go to a search engine, okay, any search engine, and search for that one. Also, by doing this one, the way by showing you this, it would also show you that I am truly here in Canada, able, and in terms of that the things that I said, that I am a registered nurse here in Canada, that our office is here in Nanaimo, we can go ahead and check all of those things in our search engine. So let's go to Google and let's go type in Israel Roman Nanaimo. And on the right hand side, you'll see Roman and Associates Immigration Services Limited, and the address right there, Nanaimo, BC. And it is currently closed right now, opens 8 a.m. on Monday, and we are closed, yes, because it is already 8:27 Friday. And then on the left hand side, you can always, now you can check, is there any red flag, right? So let's say for Israel Roman, is there any red flag for that person, for myself? All right. So looks like there's nothing. I could see here, specialty diagnostic medical sonographer. Contact is Israel Roman, manager for ICU, EDL, PCU, Heart Health, Nanaimo Regional General Hospital. And that's my email address for that. As a nurse, that's my email address. So there you go. And we can also check some pictures, right? Just to confirm if the person that's talking behind Zoom, behind this live stream, is really the person that is being shown here in Nanaimo. So we can, let's go ahead and open my video. Okay. All right. So you can go ahead and compare this picture right here and the picture, the person that's talking on Zoom. So this one is from the Nanaimo News Bulletin. The Nanaimo Hospital Salary donation tops 300,000. Okay, so you can go ahead and compare if the picture and the person talking are the same. Next picture. This one is from BC Local News. So the Nanaimo Hospital gets 340,000 this time, and that's me right there holding a big check. Let's scroll one more. This is from the Nanaimo Hospital Foundation. So that's myself again touring a visitor in one of our units in NRGH. Okay, is there any other pictures? Oh, this one right here. So this is a myself with our one of our caregivers. Okay, on her first week here in BC, here in Nanaimo. Okay, all right. So that's good. Let's move along. All right. So finding an employer. So I've shown you that I am truly here in Canada, and as a nurse, I've shown some proof. And the next one is the Home is Best Caregiver Services Limited. So this is our other company. This is our recruitment agency based here in Canada. This is not based in the Philippines. This is based here in Canada, licensed here in Canada. So this is a company that deals with employers, Canadian employers looking for caregivers or nannies. Let's go click on the website. So this is our website right here, Home is Best Caregiver. And again, this is essentially for our employers looking for caregivers and nannies. Home is Best Caregiver and Nanny Agency in Nanaimo, BC. Okay. The other one is our other company, Nannies on the Block. So this is a website portal we're in. It's another platform for employers and nannies to connect with each other. So again, another way for us to get employers for caregivers and nannies like you. So, what is the wage of a caregiver or nanny? Is it really worth coming to Canada? Aside from knowing that Canada is one of the best country to go and immigrate because of just the uh, just the environment, how nice it is, and the medical health system wherein it's 100% free, and as well as the education, free education. What about the wage, right? So for a caregiver or nanny, caregiver, their median wage right now is $16.50. For the nanny, their median wage right now is $14.11. So let's do some wage sample computation. So if you're earning, let's say 14.11 times 40 hours a week, that would give you $564. In a month, that would give you 2,256, and in a year, that would give you $27,000. Okay, it might sound too small. It's only five digits. 27,000. How much is that really in Philippine peso? So that would give you in Philippine peso close to a million pesos. 947,520 to be exact. And that is working as a nanny full time here in Canada. Question I would ask is, if you are working as a nanny in the Philippines, would you be getting this amount of salary as a nanny in the Philippines? Okay. Or even as a nurse? Do you think you'll be able to earn this money as a nurse in the Philippines? I'm not sure. Probably not. So there you go. So, of course, yes, that is great. A million pesos working as a nanny. That is so nice to hear. I can bring my spouse. My spouse can also work. I can bring my children, and my children will get free education, will be permanent resident in 2 years' time. Everything sounds great. But of course, it's not for free, right? There is expense attached to this one. And the way I see it is that expense would be your investment. And why is it investment? Because you're spending the money in order to earn something, right? You're not just spending the money and then that's it. You are spending the money in order to earn an income. So it's an investment. And the return of investment is controlled by you, right? So you're the one controlling when will you get your investment back, how quick, and the income generating thing, like it would be, it's you who would be controlling it, right? Because you're the one, it's you who will be deciding how many hours you'll be working, right? How many hours per week. So the you have control over your return of investment. Unlike other businesses wherein you have no control over because you are you're relying on other people to, let's say, buy your products, right? And hopefully they buy your products every day or every week or every month. And also on top of that one, how much is the profit per product as well, right? Per item, right? So the I think the return of investment on that one won't be as great as this one. And the sustainability when it comes to income might not be as good as this. Okay. So when it comes to investment, once we are able to determine that you are eligible for this course, for this program, then you will proceed to the next step. And that next step would be the registration. And that would be the only time the administration is due, which is 48,000 pesos. Then We would once you have paid that registration fee of 48,000, then we will do the work in terms of coordinating with you your IELTS review, your IELTS exam, and getting you into our pool of caregivers and start hunting for your employers. All right. Then once you have your employer, then you submit your application. These are the fees for the actual application. And so roughly your investment would be around, for this one, not including the plane ticket, is 110,000. Okay. But again, your return of investment is almost close to a million pesos. Okay. So in less than 2 months, you'll be able to get your investment back. So in case you will be loaning the money for this, you can be certain that you'll be able to pay that loan back. Okay. Now, if you are taking a family member, your spouse or your children, then they will also, there won't be any registration fee for them, but for the processing, for the visa fee, they will still have to pay for that one. But again, let's say for your spouse will be working as well. So your spouse will be generating almost close or even over million pesos a year. Okay. And this is our retainer fee, which is because it's a 50% off, total would be 2,500. And again, this one would be negotiated with your employer to see if they'll be able to shoulder this one. I've said a lot. I am pretty sure you are overwhelmed, but what is the process in a nutshell? Okay, so first is the eligibility check. We need to assess if if you'll be qualified for this program. We don't want to waste your time and money. That's why we need to do the initial assessment first. Once we have determined that you are eligible, you'll be able to meet the requirements for this program. That's the only time we proceed to the next step, which is the start of the application, and that is where the administration fee is due. Then we do your evaluation, credential assessment, your IELTS review, your IELTS exam. Then prepare your documents for submission to IRCC, or the Immigration, Refugee, Citizenship of Canada. Then you fly to Canada. And again, if you are applying with your spouse and children, they will be coming with you as well. Okay, so no more waiting for 2 years, 3 years before they can come over and follow you. The entire family will be flying to Canada. Next steps, only if, of course, if you are interested, this caregiver program is the program for you and you would like to avail the promo that I have mentioned, which is the free IELTS review or the free IELTS exam, and of course, the advantage of joining us, because we are able to find you, we are able to directly talk to potential employers for you. So only if you're interested in those, please submit your resume to assessment at romancanadianimmigration.ca. Again, it's assessment at romancanadianimmigration.ca, and with the subject line of Caregiver Pathway webinar. This is important because we do receive tons of emails. We want to make sure that we are able to triage your email, and at the same time, this would clue us that you are for the promo as well. Then, if you're eligible, then we go to the next step, which is the registration step. That's it for me. I'm hoping you guys learned a lot of things in this webinar, in this Facebook live stream. Again, thank you everyone for joining. It's now time for you guys to enter your questions. If you're in a Facebook live stream, you can enter your questions in our comment section. If you are in our Zoom, you can type your questions in our Q&A.